My goodness, I love that sound. Good morning. Welcome to the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. My name is Ray Wilson, and I am your worship associate this morning. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We're glad you're here. We come together at FRS online and in person, committed to love, peace, and justice. Our mission and our invitation to all of you is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, and transform our world. If you're worshiping online and would like to access this morning's order of service, please click on the link just below the live stream. I draw your attention to the many activities and events happening here at the church and listed in the order of service. We especially hope everyone will come to the annual meeting today after the service. We will enjoy a brief lunch downstairs in the lower meeting house immediately after worship so that setup for the meeting can happen. Our annual meeting will start at noon. Members, please register with Diane in the vestibule if you haven't done so already on your way in. For those members participating in the annual meeting online, please join the meeting using the separate Zoom link. Thank you. It is good to be together.
It is indeed good to be together. The annual meeting will actually start at 12:15, if anyone is online or wondering differently, to give us time to get things changed around and get the Zoom link working and the television on. I also wanted to say that this will actually be the last Sunday service where we have the annual meeting and the worship service as two separate things. We know that though it was for hundreds of years customary that you were asked to sit in a pew for 3 hours, it's really not so kind or a custom today. So starting next year, we will actually have our worship service and annual meeting, the annual meeting be a worship service, because indeed, leading and loving and caring for this church is an important ministry. So thank you for those of you who have come for both things in person and online, and I'm sure we'll be welcoming others who will come for the meeting itself. Before I offer our call to worship, I also wanted to thank Ray Wilson. Ray Wilson has been a worship associate for 4 years, I believe, with our first crew of folks who have come in through COVID and again this year. And Ray, we are so grateful for your booming voice, your support, your love, your laugh, and just your beautiful self. Thank you. Our call to worship this morning are words adapted from Reverend Elizabeth Mount entitled "The Church Incarnate." Sunlight streams through a beautiful, large window. Sunlight streams through a beautiful, large window. Come into this place, bringing all you hold with you. Come into this place with every piece of yourself gathered up, and let us be the church incarnate. Let us bring forth the spirit of all that we love by the words of our mouths and the deeds of our hands as we make sacred this time together. You are joyfully called to worship.
Good morning. Please join in saying our chalice lighting words as Reverend Helen lights the chalice. The words can be found in your order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth we lift up and remember as a sacred encounter with our world. There are untold number of places on earth that need peace. These two we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I will invite you to respond by saying, peace, soul, shalom. Our first candle is lit for Sudan, where armed conflict continues to ravage the human population with death, violence, hunger, and displacement. May ongoing efforts to create peace in Sudan be successful at last, and may that peace bring health and well-being to all of its citizens. To this we respond, peace, soul, shalom. Our second candle is lit for the land in what we know as Canada that is currently burning in hundreds of forest fires, many of them out of control. Millions of acres of land have been destroyed as a result of warm, dry conditions caused by climate change. May this devastation serve as an impetus for deeper understanding of how much the earth suffers from humans' way of life, and may we learn to reclaim our place as part of nature, not as something separate from it. To this we respond, peace, soul, shalom. And now please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, number 128, For All That Is Our Life. Please remain standing as we join our voices in the affirmation of faith, followed by the doxology. The words can be found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. From all that dwell below the skies, let faith and hope with love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every may be seated.
The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of the church both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering not designated as a pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. Our June shared collection goes to support the LGBT and Asylum Task Force in Worcester, which supports the basic human needs of LGBTQI people seeking asylum in the U.S. They depend on donations and volunteers to help asylum seekers. It takes approximately $1,100 a month to provide the basic necessities of shelter, food, and support for each asylum seeker. The past year, they supported 45 people fleeing persecution and maintained their 100% success rate of folks granted asylum. In order to give online, please use the link in your order of service or below the live stream. You can also make a contribution by text, and of course, you can always mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Each Sunday, we take a few moments to remember the joys and the sorrows of our beloved faith community. This morning, as I share things that have been sent to me in advance, Reverend Helen Mergida will be lighting our candles. Julie Parker Amory asks that we light a candle of blessed memory and hold the family and many friends of Sally Lieberman in our hearts as we grieve her passing this week. Sally, the former DRE at the UU Church in Haverhill and the heart and soul of the Ferry Beach community, was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer just 2 months ago. Her passing is a huge loss for all who were touched by her deep, gentle, and loving spirit. Donnie Rogers asks that we also light another candle of blessed memory and care in remembrance of his stepsister, Kathy, who passed away this week. Donnie says that Kathy will always be remembered for her upbeat personality and her delicious desserts. And I invite you to take a moment now and to bring to your own heart and mind, starting first with a concern or a sorrow. Could be for yourself, or someone you know and love, or even someone you don't know very well. But bring to your mind and heart someone or someones who need to be remembered. And we light a candle in their honor. And bring to your mind and heart as well a blessing, a joy, something, a person or an occurrence or a place in nature that for which you are grateful, that blesses your life. And we light a candle for that blessing as well. And as we do every week, we light one final candle for all the joys and sorrows, though unspoken, we hold in just as much love and care. Please join me now in a spirit of prayer, meditation, and centering, as we take in a compilation of 2 poems, one by John Corrado entitled Losers, and one of my own entitled Blessing, commingled into one prayer. In a culture that worships winners, some people say the church is a place for losers, and they are right. This is a place for losers. This is a place for people who have lost their hair, lost their teeth, lost their place, lost their memories, lost their savings, lost their jobs. It's a place for people who have lost their parents, lost the love of their life, and even lost their children. It's a place for people who have lost their way, lost their faith, and perhaps worse of all, lost their hope. And so too, church is also a place for those who are blessed by a community of people who care, even if they don't know each other well. Blessed by belonging to a network of individuals with whom you share common experiences and cause. People you sit by in a pew, online, in a parade. People who want to know you and already respect your story. Church is a blessing and a place to be blessed. A place where you belong and are valued, even treasured. A place where you are teaching others by your words and actions, even when you don't realize it. Whether you are leaving a legacy for the children and youth and generations yet to come, church is a sacrament and is as much a verb as a noun. Let's see who we are and how we are and how much we need and help and rejoice in each other. We are losers and we are blessed. Amen.
There's some choreography putting this all together. The reading is by Marge Piercy. The people I love the best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shadows, and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing, well done, has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry and a person for work that is real.
Getting a little bit emotional up here. Tears of gratitude and joy, and yeah, that's what they are. I don't know how many of you were here 5 years ago, and then I promise I'll turn to my words, but we've had 5 years together. 5 years ago when we said yes to one another. They have not all been easy, largely out of conditions beyond our control, things that happened in the world. But I can't imagine being anywhere else. There's something remarkably right about the fact that I had to be told to take a month sabbatical. When I said, no, I can wait another couple years, because I don't want to be without you. There's something remarkably right when, as I'm about to head off for 2 months, I am both grateful and confident and joyful and eager and already missing you. There's something remarkably right. The words I spoke, I believe, the last words I said after you had voted me in as your settled minister. I was across the street at then Commune, and we came back, and I was more than a bit exhausted after having spent a week with all of you, getting to know you and the highs and the lows of all of that anyway. And you voted, it was a celebratory yes, and then John Mercer said, don't you want to say a few words? And I thought, oh my God, not really. And well, all that came out of my mouth was, thank you, and we won't regret it. And I pray that that is true. So I open my reflection this morning with words of another UU minister, a dear friend and colleague now in Michigan, Reverend Manish Mishra Morzetti. It is taken from an essay in which he's writing about church. And this is what he says. We are engaged in a fallible human enterprise, but it is one that is simultaneously transcends our finitude. Amid the uncertainty and the risk of failure, can we remember why we stepped forward? To make a difference in someone's life, to help build and create healthy religious community, to share our gifts and talents with the world around us, to be the best we can be and bring out the best in others. Grounded in these intentions, it's never possible to fail. The world needs every bit of good that each of us has to offer. Why did you step forward to be a part of this spiritual community? Why did you step forward to be a part of this congregation? Whether it's your first time here or generations. Why? Was it in your genes? Do you have a family that's tied up to Unitarian Universalism or to this church? Or did someone slip our address in your blue jeans, encouraging you to check us out or see what was going on in that big white church on Pleasant Street? Why did you step forward? And why have you stayed? I accepted this call to serve as your settled minister, as I said. The call itself was May 6th, 2018. So we have now completed 5 church years of ministry together. Some of you have been here nearly every Sunday since that vote. Some of you have been here many Sundays. Others have been more on the sidelines. But you've been here. Some of you have been members for decades or even generations. Others joined in my first year or two. Some joined over COVID. Some of you joined this year. Some of you have not yet done so, and some of you may never. Some of your lives have changed indelibly over the past 5 years. Think back 5 years ago. Children now grown. Loved ones who have died. We're all aging. Others have met the love of your life, discovered new or renewed passions, found your voice. All of us have changed in big and small ways. How could it be otherwise? However long you've been here, we are richer for your presence and participation. You make us who we are. This is our church. It does seem appropriate, however, to offer a few reflections at this 5-year mark. So I'm going to do so by answering 4 questions. Number 1, what have I learned about who you are? And what has not changed over the last 5 years? Number 2, where have I been wrong? And what apologies do I owe you? Number 3, where do we go from here? And 4, lastly, what promises do we make to ourselves, this congregation, and each other? Number 1, what have I learned about who you are and what has not changed over the past 5 years? I have learned above all that this congregation is faithful, loyal, and generous. I just want to say that again. When people ask me who you are, those are the 3 words that first and foremost come to my mind. You are faithful, loyal, and you are generous. You show up for one another. You pay attention, and you know what is going on, even from afar, even when I think you're not reading the newsletters. You send notes when someone experiences a sorrow. Many, many notes. Or a joy. You support one another even when your actions are under the radar. You attend memorial services like no other church. I am sure of that. You show up in droves, arriving early, staying late, wearing your best clothes. Unlike with memorial services, however, you don't always come to church. I had to learn this, and someone had to tell me that it's in the genes. Some of you do, and for that I am immensely grateful. And it's always good to see every one of you whenever you come, no matter the frequency. It does make a difference that you're here. I do hope and ask that you make a commitment and come as often as you can. Come as often as is right for you. We are all better because of it. What else have I learned about you? You love history, and you're not caught in it, which is huge. You respect it without being constrained by it. You also know what it means to do the right thing, and you do it with strong affirmation. Whether it is converting Parish Hall into housing for refugees, the family, by the way, who walked by, if you saw me blowing kisses, they were waving from outside the door. Or whether it's paying staff fair wages, or marching in streets for women's reproductive rights and Pride Month, and I could go on and on. You know what the right thing is to do, and you do it, each in your own way. You love to learn, and you are genuinely interested in theology. Need I tell you how delighted that makes me, and how that is not true in all UU churches? It's one of the many unexpected joys for me as your minister, and it's one that I look forward to getting into more deeply next year. You're seekers. You are interested in what others believe, and you respect what they believe, within and beyond these walls. We learned during COVID that you are adaptable and can pivot. You change to meet the times, and you invest in making this the best church it can be for as many people as possible. I remember when we first made the accessible pew in the back, taking out a thing to open and make broad this pew. And this was early in the first few months I was here. I didn't yet know these things I've just shared about who you are, and I was nervous. I was nervous because there are congregations where that sort of thing will stir up a big old fuss, and people will be upset. And all I heard was thank you. Isn't that beautiful, you said. Isn't that wonderful? We have a pew, an accessible pew, where people in wheelchairs can come, where people who need to have that kind of space. Isn't that wonderful? And I thought, these are my people. These are my people. As I said, you're loyal, you're faithful, you're generous. And you are Yankees. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Because I'm not, and like you, haven't figured that out. I am the first female minister here in almost 300 years, and though I may be saying I, because there's no other way to say it, I'm really talking about you and us. So my ministry as the first female minister in 300 years was long awaited by some of you, and is still a mystery to others. One of the ways I learned how faithful you are is that my very first sermon, I asked that you call me Reverend Rebecca. And I explained why and how it is in solidarity to all women and historically marginalized people within our faith, knowing that our clerical respect is not assumed by the size of our bodies or our gender. and you listened. This request remains. However, I said something else that morning that you also listened to, which is I said I cannot be your friend. How can I be a friend to 400 plus people? Well, it's about time that we became friends. My boundaries are lessening on that front. After 5 years, I believe we can be both minister and friend. I'm also the first minister that serves as your spiritual leader and CEO. This is something some of you are very well aware of, others perhaps not. Before my tenure, the minister was the minister, not the CEO. This is a learning experience for all of us, and I look forward to examining the balance of these roles more closely next year. Let's make adjustments that work for us, not because someone says it has to be a certain way. So what will never change? Well, I am not Harold. That will never change. For those who don't know, Reverend Harold Babcock, Minister Emeritus, was my predecessor. Harold and I share characteristics. He is so supportive. We share characteristics. We both love nature, our families, and poetry. And we're different in many ways. I hug harder, talk a lot more about love, and am more involved with issues of social justice. We are both good ministers. And we are ourselves. More importantly, we are your ministers, along with Reverends Helen, Stan, and Jane. I also know that loyalty, faithfulness, and generosity that I've talked about, and your love of learning, children and music, it's never going to change. So let me go on, and I'll speak less about the other questions, but they're important. Where was I wrong, and what apologies do I owe you that I am making right now? I certainly have not been perfect. I apologize for when there has been too much change, and for when it was too quick. We are a blossoming congregation, finding our way at a time when many churches are failing. We are loving a generation of people who are aging and dying, while at the same time loving a generation of people who are arriving, helping us form this congregation into who we are becoming. And we must do both of those things well, and consider the future of the congregation. So help me know what is right. Help me. Share your hopes, your dreams, your criticisms, your critiques. Ours is a ministry of relationship. So let me know you. Send me things to read, suggest sermon topics, challenge me to consider things differently. Which leads me to my second apology. I apologize for botching up traditions. For just one example, we are collectively re-envisioning candlelight, built on a foundation of understanding and treasuring that tradition. I'm also open to reconsidering summer church. I will definitely be preaching more often next year. Remember, I can't read your minds, though. Giving feedback has not always been, direct feedback has not always been your forte. Please talk with me and not just each other. There are many other things I could apologize for. I'll just choose one. I apologize for trying too hard to please you and to get you all to like me. Because in so doing, I diluted who I am, and I had inadvertently hid parts of myself. I am deeply spiritual, a theologian through and through, an engaged Christian mystic contemplative who believes in my core that justice and contemplation go hand in hand. I find great joy in exploring and learning, and I want to do more of that together with you. I also love to laugh and can be quite irreverent. I will show more of me, and I invite you to do the same. So where do we go from here? Question 3, where do we go? We've been through a lot, and there is much good that is coming. For all of our hiccups and idiosyncrasies, we are a thriving church. While 2/3 of Unitarian Universalist congregations in this country have less than 140 members, we are at 450 and growing, even as we are mourning too many deaths, far too many deaths of beloveds. With fewer ministers than ever before coming into parish ministry in our faith, and many congregations having to merge or be lay-led, we are a strong presence of liberal religion in this region. We owe it to ourselves, the future of this congregation and the public sphere, to lean into our strengths, keep evolving humbly and with pride. We have important priorities next year, including envisioning together the future of Parish Hall. This was something you wanted long before I came, and its time is coming. There will be many conversations with the congregation and all kinds of ways we want to learn what you envision for that space. What purposes? How will it be used? What will it look like? Who will walk through its doors? We also will find long-term housing for the Mazzari family, and we need your help to do that. It is not easy. Our anniversary, 300th anniversary, will run from January 1st to December 31st, 2025. So next year is our planning year, and there will be many ways to get involved and to help plan that. Most importantly, next year, we will be focusing on membership. And I don't mean simply, have you signed the line? What I mean is our relationships with one another, be you members, friends, guests. We'll be focusing on how can we best get to know one another, develop leadership opportunities for folks who have yet to step into those roles. How can we deepen our connections among all of us? There are many things I could highlight about that, but one, for example, will be a monthly Unitarian Universalist discussion group, the first Tuesday evening of every month, where we'll come together, just drop in to discuss what it means to be Unitarian Universalist. What is our theology, our values, our beliefs, our history? How are we responding to local and world issues of justice and climate change? I look forward to that. And there are many other exciting programming opportunities. Wednesday night fellowship is returning. Justice Sundays will continue. We'll have a retreat for Mary Oliver. Great plans for Young Church, including the newly revised and updated Neighboring Faiths program, and many other things. Of course, music. We will be exploring more deeply what it means to become the beloved community, and that means our commitment to and work in anti-racism, climate justice, common sense gun laws, LGBTQ+, gender equality. And of course, we'll have our fellowship and our fundraising events and activities, which are joyous and beneficial in many ways. My last question. So what promises do we make to ourselves, this congregation, and each other? As we move into the next 5 years, I promise to do better at pacing myself and pacing us. I promise to do better at balancing the essential movement forward and changes that are necessary to be a thriving congregation with the equally important time to remember, rest, and simply be. I promise to bring more fully my entire self to you, trusting we respect each other enough to have differences. I promise to continue and to deepen our work with social justice and to lead you in envisioning and creating an amazing future for this congregation, filled with joy, fun, celebrations, sacraments, seeking, sharing, growing, and loving, so we can be grateful for all that this church has been and our many blessings and all that will come. I promise to know you, respect you, and love you, individually and collectively, as only a minister can. What are your promises? Think carefully, my friends. Promises matter. May your promises be filled and fulfilled and blessed. I hope you have a beautiful summer, whatever that means for you. I will miss you all. I love you, and I look forward to being together again soon. And until then and always, you will be in my heart. Amen. Amen. Let's rise and embody your spirit for a responsive reading, followed by our closing hymn, and then we'll enjoy lunch downstairs and move into the annual meeting. Responsive reading is in your order of service. By Olympia Brown, first ordained female minister, just to say, stand by this faith. Stand by this faith. There is nothing in all the world so important as to be loyal to this faith, which has placed before us the loftiest ideals. Do not demand immediate results. That you are strong enough to work for a great, true principle without counting the cost. Go on finding ever new applications of these truths and new enjoyments in their contemplation, always trusting in the one God and love and goodness, which ever lives and loves. Let's join together in our closing hymn in the Teal Hymnal 1064, Blue Boat Home. I invite you to remain standing as we share in a sung blessing. You may be familiar and the words are in your order of service. Feel free to sing along. We'll sing it twice, or just take the blessing in. My friends, as we go from this place on this sacred and special gathering, as we do year after year, has been done here for nearly 300 years. May the love of this community go with us and be a part of us always. May we turn and share that love with everyone we meet. May we be beacons of light, of hope. May we work for justice. May we spread joy. And may we enjoy the life we are given. Go in peace, my friends. Return again in great joy. Amen and blessed be. Again, lunch downstairs. Register for the annual meeting if you haven't, and we'll start at 12:15 in this space.